Hello and welcome. I'm Joseph Hoffman, and today I'll be showing you how to improvise or arrange your own accompaniment for Amazing Grace. This video is my level 4 tutorial, so I'm assuming that you're a fairly experienced player with 4 or more years experience, and that you have some knowledge of chords and a little music theory. If you're looking for an easier tutorial, check out my preparatory or level 2 tutorials. All right, let's come to the piano to get started. Now in this tutorial, I'm going to assume that you can figure out how to play the melody of Amazing Grace on your own. If you need some help, you can go to my level 2 tutorial where I'll walk you through how to play the melody with right hand alone. But I'm going to leave that to you in this tutorial so we can focus on a left hand accompaniment. My goal in this tutorial is to show you how you can take a melody, and if you know the chords, then you can improvise an accompaniment. And there's so many cool and pretty simple ways that you can add an accompaniment. For example, let's look here in the first 2 measures of Amazing Grace. We've got a C major chord here in the first 2 measures. And a C major chord, you'll know, is built on the 3 notes C, E, and G. Now, based on the rules of music theory, it doesn't matter where those C, E's, and G's are on the piano. You could put them in any order and it's still a C major chord. For example, if I took this C and put it up here, as long as I still have a C, an E, and a G, it's still a C major chord. That's called inverting a chord, when you take a note from the bottom or the top and flip it up or down an octave. Or if we took this E and put it up here, that's also a C major chord because we still have a C, an E, and a G. You can put a C way down here, you could put an E here and a G here, and it's still a C major chord. The sound is slightly different, but it's essentially the same harmony. Okay, and that's what matters. For the melody, we need a C major sound. So today I'm going to show you lots of ways you can rearrange C, E, and G for your C chords or FAC for your F chords in artistic ways. Now, one of the simplest ways to do a chord accompaniment is a simple broken chord pattern. Since we're in 3/4 time, we need to have our pattern last for 3 beats. So an easy way to do that would be 1 and 2 and 3 and. So I played C on beat 1, 1 and 2 and 3 and then I just went back and forth between E and G. C, E, G, E, G, E. Will you try that with me? Go. C, E, G, E, G, E. And then you can just keep repeating that. Let's repeat that in kind of an ostinato pattern. Go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2. So you see how that can become our accompaniment for Amazing Grace. If you add some pedal, your sustain pedal can make that sound even more resonant and beautiful. Now, when you get here to the F chord, you can move up and play FAC in that same pattern. See how I just moved up to here? F, A, C, A, C, A. Will you try that? Good. Now practice going from this to this. Try that on your own. Now, if you add the melody, it sounds like this. See how I did that? Okay, now here's one other option that I want you to think about. When you have that F major chord, you can take that C and invert this chord and put the C down on the bottom. That's also an F chord. And now you'll notice, now instead of having to move your hand all the way up to here, watch what happens now. You can get a much smoother sound when you use inversions. Watch. So it was the same chord, but by using an inversion, I was able to get a smoother sound, which you might like. The cool thing about improvising accompaniments is it's purely a matter of taste. You can make some artistic choices and decide what sound you like better. Do you like coming up here and using the root position chord, or do you like using that inversion of the F major chord? So press pause, and I'd like you to experiment with this accompaniment pattern. You can go all the way through the whole song if you want. When you get to the G major chord, again, you can come all the way up here, or you can use an inversion. Watch this. You can take this B and this D, put both of them down here to make this. For when you get to that sav'd a wretch like me. So you can do that, or like me. And maybe one of you will like this better and one of you will like this better. That's the great thing about music. There's no right or wrong answers always. Okay, so experiment with these different chords. Just in case you need a refresher, the C7 chord is actually built on these 4 notes. I would recommend just leaving out that E, and you can do this for that chord, okay? There are other ways to do it as well. Again, the only thing that matters is that it has these 4 notes. And again, it's possible to leave out the E or the G. Sometimes you'll hear this, sometimes you'll hear this. They're both acceptable. Or you can invert it, put the B flat on the bottom. Okay, there's lots of different ways to play that C7 chord. Then when you get to the A minor chord, that's A, C, E, which again, you can invert this way, put the A on top. Okay, basically I'm asking you to pause the video and use this kind of pattern and experiment with making up an accompaniment for Amazing Grace. Now, after you've experimented on your own, I'll show you some other patterns you can use too. So press play when you're ready to try out some other patterns as well. Okay, so you've experimented with that accompaniment pattern, this 1 and 2 and 3 and. Now let me show you a slightly more advanced accompaniment pattern that you can do. So again, as I mentioned, we can take this C, E, and G and put it anywhere on the piano and it will still be the same chord. So let's take the C and actually go down an octave. So I love the powerful, solid sound of the low notes of the piano. Okay, then we're going to take the G and put it down an octave as well to here, but I want to leave the E up here. So I think this is a really beautiful voicing. When you get creative with chords like this, it's called different chord voicings. So this is one way to voice a chord where you put the root on the bottom, the 5th, and then the 3rd of the chord is at the top. You hear how beautiful that is. Okay, that's something that composers all the way back to Chopin would do this kind of voicing a lot. And a good fingering is 5-2-1, or some people might prefer 5-3-1. And I use either one. Okay. Now let's actually use this rhythm. Let's go 1 and 2, 3, 1 and 2. Listen to how this sounds. Now for F, I'll come up to here. See how I did that F chord? I have an F, a C, and the A on top. Those are the 3 notes of F major. How sweet the sound. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now I need a G chord, so I'll come up to G. 1, 2. There's my A minor chord. Notice I had A, E, C. Those are the 3 notes of A minor. I just took that C from the middle of the A minor chord and basically popped it up here. Blind, but now I see. Okay, that's a beautiful way to improvise an accompaniment. All I was doing was taking those 3 notes of the chord and voicing it that way. You notice when I did the C7, I just used this chord. I could have taken that G and moved it up to here for my C7, that would have sounded like this. But that B flat that low I don't like so much. If I'd come up higher, like, that might have worked better. It's okay to actually leave out the 7th if you prefer. So now, press pause again, and why don't you experiment with that accompaniment pattern, then press play when you're ready for yet another option. Now let's say you wanted to have a verse in your arrangement that really got meditative, very contemplative and quiet. You might take the melody up an extra octave, and your accompaniment might be more of a harp style where you kind of roll the chord. Instead of playing it as a solid block, you might just gently roll through the chord like this and just hold it for all 3 beats of the measure like this. Like I said, maybe you take the right hand up an octave. And instead of a 3-note chord, you could go for a 4-note chord, okay? If that's comfortable in your hands, you can do C, E, G, and a C on top. Here's the F chord, back to the C chord. Now we'll need a G chord. Maybe play the melody in octaves. Okay, and then let me show you one other option. Let's say you want to do a really powerful verse. Okay, then your left hand may play the root of the chord in octaves, say on beat 1. Let's say we've got a C chord. So you play a C in octaves like this, and then you can come up and play chords kind of like this in inversions. So here's my C major chord, then I'm going to invert it, then I'm going to invert it again, and then I might come back down like this. And then I need an F, so I can come down here, play an F. So again, I'm just using F chords, using inversions. Then back to a C. Now I need a G, so I can come down and play a G in octaves. Sounds like I'm making up this really amazing accompaniment, right? But it's just inverted chords. It's so easy to make accompaniments once you understand chords and inversions. Now, if you would like to experiment with either that kind of harp-like, really gentle accompaniment, or this kind of stronger style, if you want to experiment with either of those, feel free to press pause, do a little work on your own. Otherwise, I'd like to show you how you can take these 3 different, or actually I've shown you 4 or 5 different styles of accompaniment and put it together into one arrangement. I'm going to do my first verse using this, the first pattern I showed you, this 1 and 2 and 3 and then maybe I'll mix that up with some of this, where I do the root, 5th, then 3rd. Okay, I'll do a combination of that. Then I want to do a verse that gets really contemplative and quiet. And then I want to finish with a verse that's really strong, using the big blocked chords and octaves in the bass. Okay? But on your own, I hope you'll experiment and see what really speaks to you. You know, find accompaniment patterns. These are just a handful out of truly hundreds of different ways you can take the 3 notes of a chord and mix them up, okay, through inversions, through different rhythms and different patterns. So I hope you'll really, see what feels right and sounds right for you. Thank you for taking the time to learn with me about improvising your own accompaniment for amazing grace. I hope you find a lot of fulfillment and joy as you play this hymn. God bless and happy playing.